Okay, welcome back. I took a long break from the podcast, and this is my first episode back. It was an absolutely wonderful episode, and me and my guest, which I'll tell you about in a second, talked about the experience, what happened while I was gone. I went through a whole process, a healing process, a regrowth process. It was a very vulnerable podcast where I actually talk about where I've been and what I've been doing. And I guess since the last time I did a private individual podcast where I shared about myself, people were all right with it. So this is what happened again on some level. I sat down with Micah Landau, who is a very close friend of mine. He is many roles in my life. He's a therapist. He worked under me as an intern, as well as becoming a therapist, and then worked with me afterwards. And he is, as I said on the podcast, sometimes I'm the Rebbe and sometimes he's the Rebbe. He's a phenomenal therapist with an enormous amount of information on a lot of different topics. This particular time, we were talking about plant medicine, psychedelics, shamanism, the healing of some older traditions that are non-traditional, what we call here. And I got a lot of insight, as well as I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Micah knows a lot. He's very humble about how much he knows. For such a young and handsome man, he knows a tremendous amount. And I think this is going to be one of the most lovely podcasts that I've done. So enjoy it. And remember to like, comment, follow, subscribe. If there are other words that go along with that, do those things too. And I love y'all. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Brainstorm Podcast. And now, your host, Sonny Perlman.
We're live. We're live? We're live.
We're live.
I'm with one of my favorite people. Micah's here. We'll do a whole intro afterwards. So welcome, Micah. And what people don't know, if you haven't listened to this podcast before long enough, this is your second time on my podcast.
All right. It's my first solo.
It's your first solo.
Yeah.
And you were here with Isaac. How long ago? 3 years ago? 4 years ago? I was only audio.
We all worked at our place back then.
Right.
I still lived at 1140.
Right.
You were coming into Brooklyn, and so was he. And there wasn't a video component yet. So
it's gotta be a long time ago. So we did it. But it's a great one. If you guys want to go look it up, it's a great one. And it was a lot of fun. I believe it was like 1 o'clock in the morning when we started. And we were both kind of exhausted. Not both, all of us. And Isaac refused to go near the mic.
Right. He was like, nah.
He's still annoyed at me that I kept telling him, go near the mic. He's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You came over after our place. We finished work at 11, right?
Right.
We probably got to Crown Heights at 11:30, 11:45. Then set up the studio in the dining room.
Right.
And then we schmoozed for a while.
Yeah, it was real late.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to hear a bleary-eyed midnight, go check that out. It's with Isaac and Micah. Anyway, so I specifically wanted you to come on this podcast because you're a bit of a maven in one area, and there's a lot of areas that you know a lot about. But it's something that I've talked to you a lot about in the past, and I want to hear your insights because you know a lot more about it than me. And this is also for the audience, is that I just came back from it's called a 2-week dieta in Peru. If you're wondering why I've been gone and my podcast hasn't been around for a little while, I was taking time to figure out some stuff in myself and process things that were going on. We could talk about it more. But I went to something called the 2-week dieta, which you know a lot more about than I do because you studied this. But I basically was sitting with Isaac in the spa because after the big campaign where we raised money for the village, I was very, very tired and wiped out. And I went to the spa with Isaac, and he said, why don't you come to Peru? So I went along with 10 people. We went to Peru. And I mean, you know about this, but I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing to do.
I'll tell you because for me it was odd because if you know, I am like on the fence on plant medicine, and I have a lot of different thoughts on what's going on in the whole shamanistic world and all that. And this is me going to the most intense version of shamanism. I don't know how you say it a better way. Like, how would you say it? Like, it's. I mean, there's more intense dietas, but the dieta is the most intense. Would you say this is like on the top of the intensity level of like deeply in the plant medicine world?
So it's a little complicated because shaman is a complicated word. We can discuss that, but
Right.
in terms of the Peruvian indigenous traditions around curandismo, that's where the so-called shamans go to learn. That's how they get their power. That's where they study their stuff, right? That's their version of academia.
Right. So here I am, guy I have done ayahuasca, which I've shared, but a decade apart. I did it once, maybe 13, 14 years ago or something, like a long time ago. And then another time, I think 4 years ago. So it's like, and I never thought I'd ever do it again. And that's because I just didn't feel a draw to it. And I didn't think that was what was going to happen. And I wasn't even planning on going there to do that. But meanwhile, I'm going to explain what it is from my limited understanding, which is hilarious because I went and did it with complete like reliance on like, let's just give it a shot. Isaac said, just try it. Because I was thinking of doing a meditation retreat or something like this. He's like, try this. We show up in a I'm trying to remember the name of the place. It was
Julian Pampa.
Julian Papa, right? Julian Papa, right? Yeah, you know the place. So
Sometimes affectionately nicknamed Julian Pampa.
Julian Papa, right? Okay. So there's a place called Julian Papa, which is right outside a small city where you walk. This city called Tarapoto. Am I right about that?
Tarapoto, yeah.
Tarapoto. And you hike this insane hike, this 5-mile straight uphill hike. And I was definitely the oldest and heaviest person on this this escapade.
Well, of like the white people, right? Like I'm sure there were older locals who.
The locals. Yeah. There was an 80-year-old man who was hiking up.
Break a sweat.
It was nothing. So the locals hold our stuff, walk up in flip flops.
Yeah.
I'm dying completely. It was amazing. Yeah. I was dying on the way down. I'll just do this. A woman, maybe 4'10". Mm-hmm. I'm probably like giving her height because she was tiny. She was carrying our bags. We walked down, and I never felt that bad in my whole life. But there was no way I could have done it. It was really impressive. But they take our stuff up. We hike up for 5 miles, end up in the jungle, like dead in the middle of the jungle. And they made this really pretty, area. It's like a main area, which is like the like eating area and the dining area and like the place where they sleep. And then there was also I'm not going to use all the right names, but maybe you could tell me all the right names. There was the shul.
Yeah, sure.
I call it the shul. The shul is this round hut where everybody does the plant medicines and stuff like that. It's called the
Maloka.
The Maloka. Yeah. I was forgetting names as they were telling them to me. I must have said them 400 times, but then forgot about it. And then we get up there. You get your own hut, and you get like they've gotten fancy because some of them have outhouses attached to them. Mine did not, but it was like there's no running water, there's no electricity. I'm telling it to you, and it was really. And then your phone's off. Like your phone's off. There is reception on the top of the hill that you can get, which I call my wife every night. But besides that, I was completely off the grid. There was nobody else I called or spoke to, and there's no electricity in the hut. And then what we're doing there were two major things that were happening. One was there were ayahuasca ceremonies, and this is where I opted out. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, but I opted out so they did 6 ayahuasca ceremonies over a span of like 11, 12 days, or 11 days, I think. And I did one. I did only one, but because it's not what I was there for. But it was very intense. And then the other thing, which is the reason I did come, which is drinking the plants. And I'm going to ask you about it because because the guy spoke Spanish. I didn't understand anything, and I couldn't really get the clear answers of what it was actually doing. And maybe no one knows. I don't know. But there was a plant that they put in a mixture, and then you drink that plant the whole week, and that's called a dieta. That's called a diet where you're drinking this plant, and this plant does things. I was drinking a plant called ajusacha. I don't know if I'm saying that wrong. They kept making fun of me because I was saying it wrong, but I think it was something like that, and which means garlic of the mountain. And and it was disgusting, and it got more disgusting as the days went because it kept like fermenting and getting worse. But whatever, you drink that in the morning and night, and then you stop eating anything with taste. So they give you food. It's all vegan, but they give you the basic diet is like lentils, rice or barley, and there's maybe one or two other things, but cucumbers and lettuce, but no salt, no spices, no salt, no anything. You could drink water and this tea that they had, and that was it. So everything is being like completely like natural. I don't know what to call it. Like you stripped of all toxins in the world. There was like no toxins, and this was very, very helpful for me. So a lot of my experience there was just not doing this life. So like a lot of my question was, did it help what I was doing there, or the fact that I just shut off for 2 weeks and took all the toxins out and got to sit and meditate and think? So that's what it ended up. So I don't know which one did it, but I'll explain like how I felt better and some of the lessons I learned. And I'll let you talk also, I promise you.
That's fine. I'm loving this.
You're just loving it. Okay, fine.
Well, I like that we're talking about an ayahuasca retreat that you went to.
Yeah.
So one of us wasn't on the retreat at all.
Right.
And the other one of us didn't drink ayahuasca. But we're like, yeah,
let's talk about it. So it wasn't about ayahuasca. That was the interesting thing for me. So a lot of the time I felt like I was like crashing an ayahuasca party, you know, and also everybody else was like way more advanced than me. Like they all have like done this stuff. Me, I'm like an outside observer. I felt like a journalist, you know, like trying to like see what's happening here.
Yeah. In fact, it's often people who really like ayahuasca that then say, okay, I'll go out to the jungle and have some more.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to drink ayahuasca, but.
Yeah, I felt like honestly, there was some time there I felt like I was the most legitimately doing the dieta. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not here for the tripping.
Right.
I was here to drink this like medicine, which is not psychoactive at all. And I don't even know what it did or whatever. And I wasn't there for the ayahuasca. I feel like the ayahuasca, like there's like a fun idea to like tripping, and you get the answers, and they have to glow and all this stuff. And all I wanted to was I did not want to do. That's why I didn't want to go on this, and I agreed to go. And then I thought maybe I'm going to be forced to do ayahuasca, but I realized, wait a minute, I could say no.
Yeah, it's not about that.
And then nobody even, they didn't even care. And also when I got there was something wrong with me, and I don't know what to figure it out, because they do the first thing they do is they do a tobacco cleanse, and then you got to drink 5 liters of water, which is so much water, and they give you this crazy tobacco drink, and everybody's barfing off the cliff, which they call purging.
Yeah.
It's a funny name for barfing, but okay. And I can't.
You don't vomit.
Nothing's coming out. So they make me stick
out?
my hand out. I'm getting little bits when I'm like making myself.
Right.
Nothing. They're drinking more. They made me drink other things.
Oh, yeah.
Still nothing. Did not purge. It was the craziest thing. And they made me drink more water, more of this. They're blowing smoke in the back of my head. They're spitting me. I don't know. All the stuff is happening. I don't. At some point, they just kind of like say it's fine, and like they go, iron stomach like this one.
Tough guy.
And then I did the ayahuasca, and the same thing happened where I did not purge during the ayahuasca. So like I'm like, meanwhile, I got all this tobacco in me and ayahuasca and no purging. But that felt right to me. Like I didn't feel like I had to. Right. So I guess it worked out. Like I don't know. But I'll say this, and I'm going on and on. There's a lot more to talk about it, and I want to talk about the topic of like psychedelics also and all that stuff. But I don't know much about wigs, but I do know that probably the worst thing that can happen when wearing a wig is that it starts to slip back, and you either notice and have no way to stop it, or even worse, you don't notice. I don't know much about wigs, but Wig Guru does. So go to wig-guru.com and you could order the absolute best wig grips, wig glue, and many, many, many other products, all to make sure that your wig stays exactly where it needs to be. So go to wig-guru.com, put in the code Brainstorm, you'll get 10% off at checkout. Wig-guru.com. Check it out. I got a couple of great lessons from there, which I like to share. And also my experience was I went there feeling the weight of the world on me, like the heaviness of the world. I'm starting a brand new organization. I'm separating from basically my childhood of my work in this field, which is, our place, and like moving on to the next thing. And I felt like the universe was on top of me and just crushing me, and I was just feeling heavy. And there was a lot of grief that I had to go through from the separation, and also I have never really fully processed my mother's passing, which, by the way, is the yard site is maybe the night when this comes out, so will be the yard site. It's Sunday, so if it comes out Saturday night, it'll be the yard site of my mother. And that's the second year. So I haven't really like fully got a chance to like really process my feelings, and they're complex, So I went there feeling all this, and just as an overall, I came back light. It's not that the stuff is gone, although a lot of processing happened there. But the actual overall feeling is that it doesn't seem like the world is weighing me down at all. And I don't know what that's from. I don't know which part of it's from. Although they said Ahusacha is like a mood regulator kind of. So that was what Miguel, the shaman, said. But I came back really light. And with a mission, not necessarily for my work, for my own personal life, like with a mission. That's the feeling I came back with. And the other major lesson I got was actually the first night with the ayahuasca. I was so grateful because the ayahuasca, for some reason, I really went in going, I don't want to be here. Like I almost was like, I don't know if there's a spirit ayahuasca. I don't know that stuff, but all I was doing was saying, please just let me get out of this safely, because I actually felt unsafe. The last time I went in, I kind of got a very clear message then, like, you don't need to do this anymore. Like, you have your mission and it's good. And I had that very strong feeling. And I drank, and it ended really fast. Like, I went in, I had no deep things or anything like that. It was just a lot of like, it wasn't that scary, which was better than usual. Usually it's very scary for me. And it ended 3 hours before everybody else.
Wow.
It just ended. They said, you want to drink more? And I'm like, no. I got my, they have these Peruvian cigarettes that are like cigars. A facha. I'll show the audience. They have a couple with me. You can't inhale them because it's like a cigar, but they're hilarious. Anyway, some people in my audience get very upset that I'm in the addiction world and like I'll smoke a cigar, and they don't like that. I'm sorry to you guys. Anyway, not that sorry actually.
Are people? This is of everything you said, this is so far the most like newsworthy.
Yeah.
Do people in the recovery world not like tobacco? The picture in my head is, a bunch of people hanging out in a church basement, and there's a significant portion of them out back.
Oh, so it's interesting. I will say this. People in the recovery world are totally pretty cool with tobacco, and there's a lot of tobacco and coffee being drank and tobacco being smoked. I would say that the people that are very disturbed by this are usually mothers of addicts or mothers of at-risk youth that are panicking about a cigarette or something like that. So I should be modeling that. I kind of get it. The truth is, in our place, I understand it almost more than I do with the recovery world.
Right. You're hanging out with 15-year-olds.
Right, you're hanging out with 15-year-olds. And I didn't smoke. So, I mean, I only started the cigars kind of recently. So, but there were time periods I did smoke. So anyway, so I left. This is actually funny. So I'll tell you this funny experience is that I just left the, what do you call it again? The Maloka. Yeah. Sorry. I call it the shul. In my brain, it's the shul.
We can go with the shul.
It's the shul. There's a lot of davening going on in there. So I left the Maloka and I went outside and I just saw this magnificent tree. This is a magnificent tree out there. I don't know what type of tree it is at all. They have them all over there.
A good tree.
Good tree.
Yeah.
Very good tree. Very spread out. Big tree. Big high roots. Very like a real, like if you want to draw a tree, it might look like this. Like it's really the right type of tree. And I look at it and I realize like this tree is all the answers that I need. Like this is it. And I started getting answers from the tree. So then I went up.
You sound like
every
ayahuasca lover out there.
Right. So I became a tree hugger in this experience. But let me tell you. So I walked to a tree that was like a nook in the roots, and I said, I think it's time for me to get a hug from this tree. Like I need to be held by this tree. And I looked down. There's like a nest of like angry looking ants. I don't know. And I'm like, sorry guys. And I just sat on their nest. And just got hugged by this tree. And meanwhile, these ants are coming up and just biting me.
Oh my God.
And I'm just watching them like, I deserve this. Yeah. I shouldn't have sat on your nest. I totally get it. And I'm not moving because I just needed that hug. It felt like the mama tree. Like, I needed a mommy hug, That was part of my process. And
I like that, usually the hippies are the tree huggers.
Yeah, I wanted the hug.
The opposite. You're getting hugged by the tree.
Right. I was getting hugged by the tree. Yes. I was not hugging the tree. I was being held by the tree.
The tree was like a human hugger or something.
And then I got this lesson. This is the big lesson. And this is something that I felt like this was what ayahuasca was telling me. It gave me one lesson. And it was, so far, the 3 times I did it, ayahuasca always gave me a very, very clear lesson of what I got to be working on for the next like decade or so. So it happened again, but I was already like almost completely lucid. I was basically lucid, but it was like afterglow. And I'm not lucid enough that I didn't sit on this ant thing, like I was like, I wasn't perfectly lucid, but I was looking at this tree and thinking, this is the most glorious, like, lover of the things around it. It's like holding, it gives shade, it gives fruit, it gives like, it's like, like Elon song,
I was thinking.
So it's like, it's just the most glorious giver. A tree just feels like a giver, but I'm looking at it and I'm sitting like kind of from tree perspective because I'm being hugged by this tree. I'm looking out at the roots, looking at the canopy of leaves, and so I realized what a selfish tree. I was like, yeah, this tree could give, but it doesn't care where its roots go. It's literally sucking water up from the ground from every single direction. It's going into other root systems. The branches are coming. If something else wants to grow underneath it, good luck. These branches were thick and heavy, and they were like, it was like sucking up, just drinking in the sun. and just drinking up the water, like almost like in abandon. I was like, what a selfish tree. And then that was when the answer came to me of like what I have to be working on, which was special because I went to the jungle and I thought the answer was I need to work on restricting myself. I need to like start making boundaries, stop taking the phone calls, stop like really like, and a lot of people have been telling me this, like you are spreading yourself way too thin and you need to like really like, you know, have like very strict boundaries and all that stuff. And I thought that's what it was like going to confirm, you know, because I was having a struggle with it. And I looked and I was like, this tree is spreading out and it's taking everything. And that's what I need. I need to fully take everything from below, fully take from above. You could go with a muscle with that pretty easily. Yeah. You know, you need the ruchnius and the gashmius, but I need to take it. And if I take it, then I am abundantly able to give. Like on a level, not only was it saying pull back, it was like you could literally like shine in every direction, help as many people as you need. But if you don't pull from above and below at a big amount,
ridiculous,
like a big amount, like more than I could imagine. If I don't do that, then I'm just going to topple over and just fall. And this is such a simple, It's such a simple idea.
It's such a parallel with, you know, all your communal work, right? You have a massive community, you're spread out all over the place. But if you say, well, I can't draw from that community. I can't allow them to support me or nourish me.
Topple.
That's not going to be sustainable. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I've done. I'm always like, you know, being the hero. And so it wasn't that I have to slow down. And that was a fascinating thing that I got. Like I came back like I could give everybody everything they want. Like I could spread it in every direction, but only after I take, not after, but at the same time as I'm taking care of myself. I don't know about the after thing. The after thing always makes me nervous. I'll wait till I'm better before I help anybody. It wasn't saying that. It was just saying at the same time, I got to get to the gym. I got to eat well. I got to like love my family and do my hobbies and do all that, you know, all the stuff that I love doing. So that was the great lesson that I got. And that was just like confirmed as I kept going. And this lightness happened. And I'm drinking this stuff. And I came back all light. And then afterwards is called a post-dieta. I feel bad. I'm gonna leave a warning for anybody who wants to just skip this entire thing. Because that's a half hour of me talking about this experience. And then there's after a post-dieta, which is very careful, which I also ends on my mother's yard site, interestingly. So that's pretty symbolic. It wasn't planned that way. But my ending, and it's that I got to eat a certain way. I got to be perfectly natural food. I can't even put creams on, and I can't I had to get new deodorant. Like everything has to be fully natural. Toothpaste has to be different. It was a very weird shift for 30 days, and then it ends. And while I was there, it's kind of discouraged to hang out with everybody. So there was a little bit of congregating for meals and stuff like that. And then you're supposed to isolate, which for me was heaven. Like I was isolating and just writing, drawing, meditating. And then a couple of times it got a little hectic where I was just yelling at the jungle for periods of time and singing weird songs. And at one point, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do this, but it like in the rainforest, the sky just opens up and just pours down buckets and buckets of rain. And I just got unclothed and just ran around my little campsite there.
Are you not supposed to do that?
I no, because Miguel told me I'm not supposed to have water on me while I'm drinking this plant.
Water.
He says rainwater is not good when the plant. He said to me another time, I was like, oh, shoot, I messed up on this pretty bad already. But like,
Did you
what?
Did you tell him?
I did not tell him. I was scared. I was scared to tell him. But I just was yelling, just getting it all out. It was amazingly cathartic and free and very savage. I will say it was very savage. And that felt kind of wonderful. And then there was another thing where they had plant baths where they took these plants and then they pour it on you. And for some reason that felt incredible. Like it was freezing cold and you smell like plants. It's actually the best I smelled the entire time I was there. I will say that because I didn't have deodorant or anything. So they pour these plants all over you, and it's supposed to okay, that's what happened. That's my dieta. What do you think? You said so quietly. Are you a therapist?
We talked about how you wanted to have me on the podcast because you wanted to talk about the dieta. So
that's not the only reason. Okay,
you wanted me on the podcast before you went on the dieta as well.
Yes.
But this felt like a good opportunity, I think.
No, so I wanted to talk about where I was and my experience and how I think it's a healing process for me.
Right.
But I actually have questions. Like what are these plants that I'm drinking and why do they actually help? And do they actually help, or is this all placebo? Because it doesn't have any psycho. I did feel sluggish when I was there. I think that might have been part of the plant. I don't know. But how could something like a plant affect me months down the line? I didn't understand what was happening. So I'm asking you, for starters, about the plant. Because my trip was not really about the ayahuasca. It was more about this plant and the diet that I was on and the isolation and all that stuff. Do you know what's in, what are these plants about and why does it work?
So it's complicated, right? And
okay.
I only know so much. Of course, there are people who probably have different, equally correct perspectives or who share the same perspectives as me, but know much more. But I would say there's a few components to this. One of the main ones is that I think the indigenous people in the Amazon basin have effectively spent the last few thousand years coming up with a scientific system that parallels ours in certain regards, right? Like they have their own cosmology, they have their own pharmacology, they have their own pharmaceutical regimens. So, and of course they use different words than we do. So for example, one parallel is they'll use the word spirit a lot. But the more you hear them talk about, the word spirit, which is, they'll say it in Spanish or Quechua, it's clear that they're not talking about an angel in the Jewish sense or God or anything like that. And I think that in their system, they think of an alkaloid as being a spirit.
What's an alkaloid?
So alkaloid is like the active ingredient in a plant that does something, right?
Oh, gotcha.
So it's like the active component of the coffee bean is caffeine. And I think in the indigenous worldview, it would make sense to say, oh, the spirit of caffeine is very energetic.
Right.
Right? Like that's kind of how they would think about those things. And they sort of anthropomorphize it. They sort of attribute human characteristics to it, right? So they'll say, oh, this would make the spirit angry. But I think that, again, if you view it in this sort of sense, you'll find in the same way that if you're taking a benzodiazepine, you shouldn't drink alcohol. So it would make sense from their perspective to say, oh, the spirit of benzodiazepines is not friends with the spirit of alcohol. That makes him angry, right? Because you could have a really negative outcome if you mix those two.
Right.
That's sort of how I like to frame these things from the Western
perspective. Kind of cool. It's very Kabbalistic.
Yeah.
That everything
has a spirit and is
has
alive.
A power.
And has a power, right.
Okay, so that's what they're saying with spirit. I actually heard that a lot and was not really understanding what they're talking about.
Right. So this, again, this is my understanding, having hung out with the indigenous people for over a decade now, and having read a lot about their works and studied some of their things firsthand. They talk about the spirit of the plant, but they're talking about the impact that this plant can have on you if you play nice with it, if you do the things that the spirit likes, right? So again, in the same way that a Western doctor would tell you, don't mix alcohol and Zoloft, they would say, well, the spirit of Alcosacha really, really doesn't like it if you have red meat too close to having worked with it. it's not going to appreciate that, right?
Which is exactly what they said. I can't have red meat, right?
Right. Red meat is one of the big
And many
restrictions.
other things, yeah.
Sure. So
it's similar to like we take certain medicine, but don't go into the sun after that because you're like, so
they have that. There are dieta centers where they make you walk around with an umbrella if you're going to be outdoors. They're like, oh yeah, the spirit of this plant doesn't like the sun.
Oh, okay.
Right, and that's exactly that, right? You take a certain medication for, say, acne, and they say, well, now you have to watch out for sunburns.
Right.
So they have this parallel scientific system, and it's largely plant-based because they don't have laboratories. So their laboratory is the jungle. And over hundreds, if not thousands of years, they've studied the plants, sometimes by trial and error, sometimes by intuition or insight, sometimes via psychedelic journeys. They'll go out there and they'll say, oh, wow, it seems clear to me that this plant probably helps with this. Sometimes it's because the shape of the leaf reminds them of the shape of an organ. They'll say, oh, this plant must be good for your eyes because the leaf is eye-shaped.
Right.
And I'm definitely not proficient enough in, to walk through the Amazon and say, yeah, that reminds me of a kidney. I guess that's the solution to my kidney ailments. But they have hundreds of years, if not thousands of years of trial and error with these stuff. And they have a system of how you should work with these things and what they're good for.
Right.
Now, when I say they, the caveat is that there's no homogenous them. The Shipibo, which is one tribe, do not work with
we
the
had a
same
guy
plants.
there who was a Shipibo.
Yeah, they're, very much known for their ayahuasca work. They won't work with the same plants necessarily that the mestizo people do. Certain tribes in Brazil might not even have this whole tradition of a dieta, right? So if I say they when referring to talking about the indigenous people, there's no unified front there. But, the people that you went to work with, the mestizo people of the Lamas region, who call themselves the Quechua Lamas, have this system where they will work with these plants in such a way and with the intention of healing or curing specific things.
Right.
So they'll take something like ajo sacha, and because plants are so broad-ranging in their effects, they might prescribe the same plant for a number of different things. So I know people who have gone there for things like tobacco or cocaine dependency, as well as for anxiety and panic disorders. And for both of them, they were like, ajo sacha.
Right.
That's the answer. And because of this, and because it's so intuition-based, if you ask the healer there, well, what does ajo sacha help with? You can get different answers, and they're all equally correct, right?
Right.
Like, it shatters inner tension.
That was the stuff I was making. I was like laughing a lot because I felt like, again, I felt, I don't know if I said this, but I felt like an outsider because all these people that I went with were very advanced, right. and they like knew the names and in general. Maybe there's one or two people that were kind of on my level, but the rest of them and they're all looking at the shaman as like he's the guy,
right?
But to me, like half the time, I thought he's either like a gardener who's just making this up, like the part of the time he'd like reach back and be like, "This is what you need." And I think he was just like look at it while it passed, and I was like, "Yeah, akusaja," and then you need that for that. Here you go. Yeah. But then sometimes I thought, oh my god, because there was stuff. Guys with ceremonies were like freaking out and stuff, and the guy, the Shipibo guy who was there, he was like literally like putting energy into them, and they all knew what he was saying, even though he didn't speak the language. Like it was like he was just giving over the energy. They were understanding his stuff, and guys were just calming down, and it was almost like magic watching
see it happen. And you're like, that's crazy.
I've seen like one night he was sick, so Miguel is like the main guy, but there was this, I don't know, like the grandpa or whatever. He came from the tribes he was helping. He got sick, and one guy was freaking out during one of the ceremonies, and they woke him up, even though he was sick in bed, and they said he had to come. And he got up, he like hobbled over, and he's like 80 years old, and he was like really not feeling well, and and he did his magic, and then kind of like went back to bed, and then it was, but there was definitely some power there.
Right, like you saw the shift.
Yeah. It was obvious, and the person who was experiencing it felt it immediately. There was a lot of very cool stuff, but a lot of it just felt like just guessing. It had that feeling. Also, it happens to be the people we were with. we're so nonchalant about it. It's like, it would be like someone coming here and we give them a Tylenol.
Right.
Like, it's like,
Yeah,
take a
this is their
Tylenol. And then I'd be like,
scientific system.
what is this pill and where did it, like that? So that's what it felt like. Oh, you're drinking Alka-Seltzer. I'm like, what? What? What does it mean to drink a plant? And they're like, no, you drink this because it makes you feel better. And that's what happens.
And it's very much a part of this sophisticated system.
Right.
And I also think that there is this component, when you are a very efficient and very good worker, things look effortless, right? Like if someone comes to you and says, oh my God, Sonny, I'm dealing with crippling addiction. And you can just look at them and say, yeah, well, trauma or lack of community, right? And the guy's like, he just pulled that out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Boom. Is he psychic? And it's like, no, this is kind of so obvious that your intuition is sufficiently harnessed where you can just reach back and grab the trauma bottle.
The trauma.
So like
it is funny because when you're saying that, sometimes I have to hold back of saying what is so obvious to me because it seems so like
it's so presumptuous.
It's
right?
It's really not nice. This person just said a whole, sometimes I have conversations and then realize like, oh, the solution here is quite simple. I'm just on the outside. And
you ever have where then they say, no, you must not get it because you're giving the answer too quickly?
Yeah, that's
so
why
they explain it even more.
Right.
Yeah.
I call that radio show therapy. You know what I'm saying? Like you call in. Those are the best things to call in.
Right.
This and that. You have no relation with your father. Call your father.
Yeah.
And it's like click. I'm always wondering, does that person call their father afterwards? Like, is that like, does it fix anything to like just tell you what the problem is?
Yeah,
Anyway.
but I think that another thing you're touching on is that because in our culture, Tylenol is no big deal, but if you went there, you could have a lot of mystique around the fact that you can whip out Tylenols. Like if someone comes over here and portrays himself as a mystical healer, he'll walk around in white clothing and he'll say things in hushed tones and people will like put him on a pedestal very easily. But over there, it's just a dude very often. Like
Right.
the healer is just...
No, both these healers, like, the guys like, well, what was he like? What did he look like?
Right.
When they did the ceremony, they kind of wore ceremonial stuff.
Right.
Although, even then, I thought he was almost like joking. He had like a pink bandana for one. Like, he's kind of like pretty chill.
Right.
Definitely, it's more intense in America.
He can, but he could. There are indigenous healers who put themselves on this pedestal with mystique when white people come over.
Right.
And everyone knows that they have these powers or these abilities, and everyone goes, all right, it's warranted.
No, but the thing that I loved about both of them was their absolute humility. Meaning, like, when they weren't doing it, they're wearing jeans and a T-shirt.
Yeah.
And, they were hanging out with us.
Yeah.
They were, like, regular people. There was a lot of humility in this particular group. I'm assuming there are other people. Actually, that brings me to another conversation. Maybe I appreciate you kind of explaining that to me a little bit better. Sometimes I need you to explain these things to me because I don't know what the heck is going on. I'm just like going along blindly. But I was there and we got into a discussion because we have these things we call them Aya rock stars. You know? I've heard that expression. Anyway, in America, I'm in a weird place in terms of this whole topic because people have generally trusted me because I am somewhat cynical about everything new that comes out, and like I will investigate and find out, and I'm not jumping on board everything every time you come up with a new name that you could put 3 initials on, and
modality.
then new modality. I'm like, let's give it a couple of years, like I used to have it with rehabs and stuff like that. I'm like, could my guys not be the guinea pig for this brand new idea?
I know you think it's the answer,
Could
but
we wait 5 years and see? Anyway, so I'm in this weird place where I'm completely open to new ideas, but also very cynical at the same time. And I think it's important that I kind of stay like that, especially if I'm giving people advice. One of the things that has been tremendously bothering me about the whole psychedelic world is because it's illegal. It has no regulation.
I'm just going to interrupt. Some of the psychedelics are illegal. Some of them are very much a gray area. We can touch on that, but
okay, so we'll go on that. But in general, it's like it's happening in these back rooms and it's happening in these quiet places and people are sneaking off. And so there's no regulation. There's no, it's got to be this way. There's no, for lack of a better word, Masora. There's no way.
Well, again, there is a Masora, but someone comes to you in America and 5 people tell you that this guy is amazing. You don't know if the guy has a teacher or if there's any oversight or if he thinks he's answerable to anyone.
Right. So one of the things that's really bothering me is that I think most people I've heard of that are serving psychedelics, and this is, in my opinion, going to be one of the worst things that happens for mental health out there, because I think psychedelics have a tremendous amount of good to give, is that if you have a bunch of people who are doing it irresponsibly with no real tradition behind them and no oversight, and I see this, many, many, many people are serving it, I believe, very irresponsibly, and I'm hearing about stories that could have been massively avoided. People tell me, oh, you do psychedelics and you go insane. Who did they go to? What happened? Tell me the situation. Because very often I have someone who's dealing with real psychosis and the person serving the psychedelics just invited them. Yeah. Didn't even meet with them, didn't find out what kind of medication they're on, irresponsible on a level that is insane to me. Dangerous. And then the guy, of course, he goes, is someone whose mind is not functioning properly, and then you give him something that alters the mind to a whole nother level. You better make sure this is the right person, and you better make sure you have to be able to hold them, and it has to be a holding space. And there was all this thing. So, I mean, you could, agree or not agree, but that is my issue. But I had a follow-up question. My issue is, that even if psychedelics is right, and I do believe that psychedelics has a lot to offer in the mental health space, and maybe even the health space, and a whole bunch of other spaces. And I think if it's done responsibly. My question really was, and this I brought up in the jungle, is if we made a school of shamans, what would it look like? I mean, how would we regulate something like this? Like, you can't be a doctor unless you go to medical school. How would someone responsibly say, I have a certificate of shamanism, even though whatever, isn't shaman like a word from the north, like Siberia? I don't think it's even. I don't think they use the word shaman. Do they?
Not really. No.
No.
So,
you hear my question?
Yeah. You know how you started this off by going off on a 30-minute thing?
Yeah.
The answer to this might be longer. I'll try to consolidate, but just everything you said brought up so much.
Let's go. I got all day. Let's go.
Great. So first off, just the word shaman, right? Shaman is kind of like the word rabbi. If you were to, never have encountered a priest and you knew the word rabbi and you went to a church, you might call the priest a rabbi. But obviously, even though rabbi means a person in that type of role, and the priest is officiating as a sort of Christian rabbi, that would be the wrong word. Similarly, shaman comes from Siberia. There's a people, I believe they're called the Tungus people. They have this sort of person called a shaman. Now, as an archetype, in the same way that a rabbi exists in every culture around the world, but we don't call them rabbis, there is kind of a universal archetype of a shaman. There is someone who checks all of those boxes. And sure, in America, we've taken to calling them shamans, but it has nothing to do with serving ayahuasca or giving people mushrooms as a part-time night gig, right? Those are worlds apart. To further complicate things is everything we know about shamans comes from Stalin. At some point, Joseph Stalin takes over the Soviet Union, and he really doesn't like religion because he feels it counters communist ideology. So he sends a group of people, anthropologists, ethnographers, to all these little Siberian villages where they have these kind of tribal affiliations to really study the shamans and the local culture so that he can more thoroughly disassemble it. So this whole idea of studying shamans is actually closely related to destroying shamanism, right? Like, we're going to learn about it. Now, they interviewed many shamans. And if you read the Soviet ethnographers' accounts, very often they end it with, this guy's obviously a fraudster and should be sent to work on the railroad for 20 years. He should go to Siberia for 20 years of hard labor because he's a fraud. Now, maybe the shamans themselves really were frauds. Maybe not. But what's very likely is that the real shamans, the real people who had these powers, were not looking for interviews. They weren't looking to speak to anthropologists to give demonstrations of their power, etc. And the kind of wannabes who got all excited, like, oh my God, Stalin's people are here. We'll talk to the government and show off how impressive we are. Those guys really may have been the hucksters, right? So it's hard to say that even these anthropologists' accounts of the original shamans even necessarily involve them talking to shamans. Maybe they were like conned all along the way. But either way, that's happening deep in Siberia.
Right.
Very, very far away from the Amazon. Excuse me. Now, Americans being Americans, the idea of a shaman conjures up this particular archetype, right? It's a person who checks a lot of boxes. Maybe it's a person who carries you through a process that involves traversing your inner world, and someone who hangs out in the liminal space of society and isn't well integrated, right? Like some of the ethnographers call them neurotics. But the shamans in Siberia, they did their tricks with drums, with music. They called on spirits to tell the future, to forecast weather. Somehow we get to this idea that everyone who holds that kind of vague role where they're kind of contacting the other side is a shaman. And we just start calling these people shamans. So we call the medicine men and women of Oaxaca, Mexico, mushroom shamans. And at some point we encounter people who serve ayahuasca in Peru, and we just go, shamans. The truth is, in Peru, first off, in the places that I've been, the sh sound doesn't really exist in their tongue. So they'll be like, oh yeah, we're shamans with a ch.
Shamans?
Yeah. And they're like, oh, that guy. But they'll do it to make fun of each other. Like if someone has aspirations, I've seen them go, oh, that guy, he's a shaman, And they all laugh about it.
And they laugh.
Yeah. So the word itself is dicey. And then within Peruvian shamanism, I suppose, not all of them are serving ayahuasca. There's paleros who work with palos, with different types of wood, so very often trees. There's tabaqueros, people who work with tobacco, and no ayahuasca involved, right? Like you drink tobacco,
right? And
that's a very powerful type of healer. There also are ayahuasqueros, people who serve ayahuasca, but like an ayahuasquero just kind of means like an ayahuasca guy. Sometimes they'll go with like a more generous word. They'll call them a curandero, a healer. But the word shaman is dicey.
Right.
That being said, one thing that shamans have that span all cultures is this idea that we can't really teach it to you. Like the archetype is that the village elders or the older shamans recognize someone in the village and they say, this person who's struggling with this shamanic illness, which is its own thing, he might have what it takes. And then they choose you and they take you into this very, very difficult training. There's no guarantee that you make it out unscathed, physically, psychologically. A lot of the training is really dangerous. If you graduate, your big reward is that you're now an initiate. But
what do you mean initiate?
Like they say, congrats, you're a healer in our tradition. You can go forth and perform these rituals.
That's how they do it there. Generally,
that's how cross-culturally, worldwide.
The shaman. I'm using the word wrong.
Yeah,
the healer.
Yeah.
I like the word healer anyway better because the truth is shaman is a confusing word. Yeah. The healer is actually chosen.
Right.
Because of their personality or because something about their spirit?
Usually, I'm always hesitant to talk about this because I'm concerned that people are going to start saying, oh, I clearly have this. But there's something called a shamanic illness. Usually this person has a problem and no medicine seems to be able to fix it. No psychologist can cure it. Like something is wrong. And the older shaman will say, I know what he's going through. He's being called by the universe, by God, by the spirits, whatever their cosmology is. And at that point, the belief is that if your only way to heal is to start curing others. So like there was a story with, I remember reading about the Aborigines in Australia, where some guy checked himself into a psych ward. Full-blown psychosis, just doctors didn't know what was wrong with him, and they asked him, they said, what's going on? And he said, oh, the spirits want me to become a healer, and I'm not doing it. It's too much. It's too scary. And they go, all right, well, the guy's insane. It makes sense that he has this kind of a story. Chucked him into the back, put him in a padded room, and so on. The next day, his tribe came to visit him. So they ask the tribal elders. They say, okay, what's going on with that guy? What's his deal? And they go, oh, well, the spirits called on him to be a healer, and he's not interested. So that's just the repercussion, right? This is kind of like a global idea that if you have a shamanic illness, the only thing that will heal you is successfully passing the initiation rituals. Now, sometimes they take these people, they say, well, we'll put you through the tests, and the person doesn't make it. And they go, that guy's rough. He's going to be a broken person forever. It is what it is, right? Like this Western idea of the shaman as being this guy in long, flowy white robes who's only preoccupied with good and with light is very, very far removed from the actual way this plays itself out traditionally.
It almost sounds like a punishment.
It kind of is, right? That's why this guy in Australia would rather undergo psychosis than actually have to deal with this.
Well, that I get.
Yeah.
Because no, I'm saying as I
someone
don't
who's
know.
been there, right?
I'm not. I don't know if I call myself a healer.
Right.
But someone who works with people's like suffering and tries to help the best I can. I definitely get the idea of like, don't call on me anymore. Like, stop this calling.
I should spend a week in the psych ward.
Right.
I would recover.
Maybe this was my dieta.
Right, in a sense. And so something else about this is that the way they put a shaman through the training is by isolation. Like they don't say, oh, and I, the elder shaman, am now going to teach you everything I know.
But that was interesting also. When I was there, I was like, tell me some wisdom. No.
Right.
Get back into your hut.
Yeah, very often they don't have wisdom to tell you. And, in a way it reminds me of, I think the Jewish archetype of the shaman is sort of a Kabbalist in some schools of Kabbalah.
Right.
But, the root word of Kabbalah means to receive. And the idea behind there is I can't transmit it to you. Regular Torah can be transmitted, and Mishnah and Avos goes through all the transmissions. It went from this person to that person, to this group to that group. When it comes to Kabbalah, you kind of have to receive it. The divine has to initiate you. And if you are initiated, all of the ideas that the Kabbalists talk about will kind of click. And if you aren't, it's kind of a waste of time to tell them to you. And you even have Gemaras that get into, you can't discuss the Maisa Merkava with so many people. You can't discuss the mystery of the Chashmal with so many people. It's because it's a transmission. You have to receive it. It can't be transmitted in that way. And with shamanic wisdom, it's very much the same idea. The shaman heals from this shamanic illness by himself. That's the crux of the initiation. He goes or she goes and isolates in the wilderness, and via the experiences that they undergo and via the transformations that they encounter and the spiritual experiences that they have, they heal themselves and they come out a healed person. And that is the sign that they did it successfully. So the premise of a shamanic school where you pay me $2,000 and for 3 weeks I'll teach you how to make Florida water or something like that, that's bunk in this traditional sense, right? It's not to be dismissive of the Kabbalah Center because I've never been there, but it's kind of like the Kabbalah Center in my head where you pay me a membership fee and I will teach you Kabbalah, right? Like there's an obvious understanding in the Jewish from Kabbalistic community that that's not how it works.
Right.
And it's because of this reason. So if I do a shamanism course and you take it for 2 weeks and now you have a certificate, Sani Perlman Shaman, and you know how to, even if we teach you a shamanic trick, we teach you how to blow tobacco smoke, it doesn't really mean anything if you haven't gone and undergone that process of transformation. So when it comes to actually training someone in doing this thing, there really is no school, and it's sort of a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, but that's a big problem.
If you want to scale it up and you're industrious, it's a huge issue. But let me.
No, but let's say, okay.
Let me point out the counter.
Yeah, okay,
right?
yeah.
I think that the modern Western school of shamanism, because again, it exists in every culture, is a therapist. And I think a big difference between just stepping back for a moment, you sit with a person in a room, they walk you through this transformative, internal experience that you can't really articulate, but through undergoing it, you are transformed. It's kind of gender fluid, right? Male therapists have to learn to listen and get in touch with their female side. Female therapists have to become assertive and get in touch with their masculine side. If the therapist hasn't undergone the work themselves, they're probably not great at it, right? It's to me, the Western archetype of a shaman.
That's really interesting.
The only difference is that in the Western tradition, we are very egalitarian and we allow people to self-initiate. Take 40 grand, go to whichever college, get yourself a degree and start practicing. And we have many, many more god-awful therapists. This is elitist, I'm sorry, but we have many more terrible therapists than good ones. And I think it's because we let people self-initiate. Instead of the way it should work is, if you're talented or you have the gift or the knack or the universe wants you to do it, go be an understudy for someone, go do your own therapy work, maybe become an apprentice somewhere, and after years, you'll be ready. And because of this, I think the more we see people self-initiate into shamanism, the higher the amount of poorly trained shamans or reckless people who shouldn't be doing this stuff we'll see. And the more damage we'll see coming out of it.
Wow. I never thought, I mean, you're saying it's resonating hard. It is like, yeah, what you're saying is really true. I am curious. Now I'm curious now I'm thinking, how the heck do we make therapists?
Right.
Shoot, you just made this question
That's
way
the real
bigger.
issue, right?
I mean, I've struggled with the therapy thing for long, but I never really challenged it that much.
Right. Isn't that
I just assume that there are certain people that are good,
right,
and then the other 80% are not good.
Right.
And then what do you do?
Well,
I
but
guess
that's because we let everyone within like this sort of egoic sense of needing to save others get a degree.
Wow. I think we're even the opposite in America,
Right.
because we love a therapist with a massive ego.
Right.
We love it. They get on Instagram and tell you everything, and nothing more than someone who's completely wrapped up in themselves, full of themselves, influencer type person who's telling you all the answers to life's problems. We freaking suck that up.
And I think these are the shamans who spoke to Stalin's people. These are the ones who were like, I'll tell you all about it. I have the answers, pick me. And the guy sat with them and they were like, this guy should be sent to prison. He's an obvious fraud.
Wow. Because sometimes I do think that my career is a punishment. I do feel that way.
That kind of ambivalence is the real shamanic sense.
And I get very nervous about people who don't see it that way.
Right.
I know it sounds crazy.
But
it's like, if you want it, you probably shouldn't have it. Like I have tried many times to kind of get out of what I do.
Yeah.
And people think I don't love it.
Try to get out.
What?
What happens when you try to get out?
It sucks me back in. I have no choice.
Right. And this is the traditional take on shamanism.
Yeah.
Where if you are meant to become an initiate, it's not going to work out if you try and run. You'll just find that you have to do this.
Yeah, I once tried to, recently, I tried to make I don't know if you remember this, I tried to make like a vending business.
Vending machines, right?
Remember my vending machines?
You tried selling them to me.
Did I?
Yeah, at some point.
I still have the vending machines, but I've been hanging on to them. Everybody's like, just sell them. It's almost like a reminder to me that I can't leave.
Yeah.
So I'm refusing to sell them.
Yeah.
People are like, you got to sell them. It's in the garage. You got to get rid of them. That's ridiculous.
Right.
And I'm like, this was me. It was so simple. It's not even a difficult business.
Yeah.
But something about it, like I got sucked back in. Like it's like I've been pushed back into this is constantly happening. I never thought of that parallel. That's a very good parallel. So now the question is, how do you train therapists? You say
the same way you train anyone.
You think about like Moshe Rabbeinu, like he was the like leader of the Jewish people. Everything about him was he didn't want it. That was the biggest thing. He did not want it.
Yeah.
But he had to be put through hell, his own hell. He had to go through 40 years of his own hell to be able to hold everybody else for 40 years of their hell. And he didn't want it the whole time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think that's
usually a part of it, right? Like I think Campbell calls it the hero's arc, where the first thing you do is you reject the call. You say, why would I do this? And every now and then I'll run into someone and they'll say, Holy Brother Micah, the medicine has told me to serve. It's not me, it's not my ego, so I'm doing it. And I'm like, what are the odds? If that you both somehow understand the gravitas of this thing and are enthusiastic about it, or that it's not your ego on a psychedelic trip telling you what you want to hear. Do you have a teacher? Has anyone initiated you into this? And
okay, so we have to break down at least the bottom line.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I like the system that they've created in Peru and all that. I like that. It has a way of picking, and I don't know if we could do that again. But here we are, and we do have to come up with a system. We did come up with a system for therapists.
And it's kind of a rough system.
You have any ideas how you would change that? You're saying you would do the same thing.
I think like an apprenticeship is maybe the way to go. Spend a couple of years as an understudy with someone. Have someone trust you enough to train you. Have someone, walk you through that.
Right. I mean, one of the things that came to me is that I cannot imagine anybody serving any plants without going to the jungle and doing this, what I did, and more, several times.
Yeah. And
like,
in Peru, they would laugh. I mean, once I was hanging out with the indigenous people there, and I mentioned that I know this guy who serves ayahuasca and has never done a dieta. And of course, in Brazil, there are different traditions. They use ayahuasca for different purposes. It's not, but they couldn't get over how ridiculous. They were like holding themselves, like falling apart with laughter. They're like, what? He serves ayahuasca and he's never done a dieta? How would he know what to sing? And I'm like, well, they hire musicians. And they're like, oh my God. And they were like, hire musicians? Because he, like they do a ceremony with a radio and they would like mime, pretending to be a shaman, holding a boombox, playing music, not being in touch with, and they thought it was hysterical. The guy was like, oh, I'll go to America, I'll be a big shaman there. And everyone was like, yeah, you could. Don't let
they would be
anyone
the
tell
biggest
you.
shaman because they're from there.
Yeah, they speak Spanish.
They speak Spanish.
They're like, oh, it's so mystical.
Wow. No, so one of the things, I mean, I thought, I want to get onto some other topics, but I mean, I thought was like a bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like what happened there is that there was one night where my mind went really kind of psychotic.
Yeah,
like I wasn't on the ayahuasca. I was just drinking this plant and we're going to bed at 7:00. It's pitch black. There's nothing there. And I don't fall asleep till 1. I just don't fall asleep till 1. My body doesn't. And it just hours and hours and hours to the point where I felt like I was going mad. But I was able to process things at a level that I could never do here. It was just, I was just going through stuff. One night I felt like I was hallucinating like for hours. Right. And then Miguel just laughed at me, the shaman or whatever over there. He's like, happens.
It's normal.
He's like, he's just like, you went. But I'm saying it was like, the idea of that is, I mean, I think there should be a bare minimum that you are at least, because this is a art or
it's a
tradition or a discipline that's been passed down, and the way it works is by passing it down. It doesn't. You can't just hand some ayahuasca and then it's right. All these things are connected to the singing, connected to the Icaros and all that stuff that's happening. And you see it happening. Like when I was talking about the guy pulling the energies out of it, I watched it happening. This guy studied this for 70 years. Yeah. Like since he's a kid. And he's an old 80-something-year-old man. Yeah. So, yeah. And he, by the way, he didn't look like he was happy to be there with us, but it felt like a calling to him. Like he didn't need to do it.
Right. Also, like it sounds like he wasn't dramatic. He was cranky in bed, I don't know if he was cranky. Yeah. In bed, feeling unwell. They were like, yo, can you get out of bed and help this person? And he was like, sure.
Right.
Like there wasn't like a dramatic entry with a ceremony.
Came out. By the way, he did not come out. He didn't put on his robe before he came out.
Right.
He was like in his pajamas and,
right.
and he came out.
Like, this is what I
took
do.
the energies out, and then he went back to bed.
So in that, I should also add as a caveat in case someone did a dieta and now goes, oh, I'm an initiate. Being a dieta doesn't make you an initiate. But in that tradition, not doing a dieta means you definitely aren't. Like you would have had to do many, many dietas before someone would say, yeah, I think the universe wants you to go ahead and serve medicine or something like that.
Right.
Like we're talking months in isolation at that point. No knowledge of many, many plants besides for just ayahuasca, at least in this particular tradition.
Right. This is a very interesting podcast because we're, like my whole being is saying move on, but I'm thoroughly enjoying this. Yeah. I'm only saying move on because I'm thinking about the people listening and going, all right, it's like too inside baseball. Like it's like, what are you doing here? But okay, so I'm gonna leave it as a question because I don't know, but I do think that you cannot get a tradition from not going to the people who have the tradition. Right. So that even without the dieta, even though I heard people doing 3-year dietas and crazy stuff like that, and I did 45 days. That's all I'm doing. Right. And it's changed a lot of how I feel about things. Right. And it's given me insights. And it's nothing. It's going to be gone in a couple months, so I'll do something about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but to say that you're going to be working with the plants that have hundreds, maybe thousands of years of traditions, and you're going to do that because you sat in somebody's living room and experienced it, even if you did it 50 times. Right. How are you connect? So I'm not saying that that's the school of shamanism. Right. But I can't understand that if you don't go there, I think you should be going at least once a year. You should be spending time there.
And that's the other thing. It's a continuous training. It's not like, again, another huge issue in the Western system, right? Once you get your degree, sure, you should take continuing education credits, but you have the degree, you're good. Right. In the traditional way of doing things, there's no, oh, you graduated. There's, you've learned enough to be able to do these things, but your learning continues as long as you're doing it. You can't stop learning and expect everything to even remain constant. It kind of falls apart if you don't stop.
Right. Wow. Okay. So, no, now I'm thinking, you have any questions about my dieta? I'm curious.
Yeah,
sure. No, I'm not asking you if you have questions. I'm asking if I missed something that like you're, as someone like someone would be curious. Because I was talking about myself, and I'm usually not in my podcast. This is maybe the second time I've done that in my podcast. One time I did like a couple months ago, I did like an individual podcast. Right. This is the first time like I went on and on. I'm curious if I missed something here that somebody be curious about.
I want to know, what was the point of the dieta to you? If that makes sense.
The dieta, or why I did the dieta?
To you, your dieta. It's a very Western.
No. I like it. I think I got to a place where I felt I was kind of viewing myself as a sacrifice and not as a person living in this world. That I have chosen to do all these wonderful things, and at a certain point, there was no me left in the story. Right. So it was like, I'm going to help people. I'm going to build a new community. I'm going to be a great father and great husband. I'm going to graciously, deal with everybody in the world. And it was a lot of doing the right thing. And I just started I started resenting all the people that I love. All the people that, and I love everybody that I help. I fall in love with them, and that's probably part of this curse, is that I fall in love with people like almost right away. To to the sense where I feel like I'm way open and I got to come up with all these like hardnesses to try to save myself, because that is like, if you want to ask what the calling is, I'm like, people ask me like, how do you like, you're pushing this love thing. I'm like, just talk to them for 5 minutes. You'll be in love with them. Like, that's kind of how I feel. And then I put up walls. But I had felt that it had got to a place where I almost didn't exist anymore. So I needed a time to remember myself. That's, I guess, the best way to describe it. I didn't have any hope in the dieta. I just thought I'd like to be in the jungle by myself.
Right.
So that part I connected to. The other stuff I was going along like a Baal Tshuva, you know, like that you're like walking around the yeshiva and they're just telling you, oh, you wash on this, you do this. I was like, it can't hurt to do all the things they're saying. But I came back with more questions than answers. Like, I'm sitting here asking questions of like things that I was there. I was also with, and that was actually a way to describe the group, because I went to Ar Sameach as, it felt like the Ar Sameach crew. Like, it was like starry-eyed lovers of the dieta, and the conversations were like, what medicines and what the name of the plants, and I just have this one plant called Piti Piti, and I just kept, like, I would fade out into like I couldn't listen anymore, because it was like, I don't know what's happening here. It's like listening to like someone talk about soccer and you don't know anything about soccer. But I kept hearing in the conversation, I was just fading out and just hearing Piti Piti, Piti Piti, Piti Piti. My brain, one night, I walked away and I'm just going, Piti Piti, Piti Piti, Piti Piti. And I'm like, I don't even know what it is. It's hard to miss that word. Right. So like, I'd missed the whole conversation besides for the word Piti Piti. But there were like a million examples of that. These guys were like fully in. And I was going like, you know, like, I'll give it a shot. Who knows? Right. And I'll tell you something really fascinating. I don't know if this was part of the plant or the isolation. I didn't mention this. Is that I, like maybe day 5 or 6, I felt like I got really stupid. Like my brain slowed to a point where people were saying things to me that I disagreed with or I had thoughts about, and I'm listening to it and going, yeah, I don't know if I want to engage in a conversation about this. I wasn't even using those words. I was like, I was like even people said things that like would gas me up and get me going. And then sometimes I did say like one thing, and then somebody would come back with a challenge, and then I would be like, no. I don't think I could have this whole conversation now. My brain did not feel like it was firing on all cylinders. It was like I could start. It got almost hard to talk to people. Yeah, like it was like, okay, and we'll talk, and all stuff that I'm like on the ball all the time. Sure. It just like slowed. I was almost like, what are you doing? Why are you talking to me? Like there was like a little bit of that. Yeah. And also my brain my ideas is interesting, because when I got there, I was like writing in my journal these ideas and thoughts and drawing. And then by the last days, I was just kind of sitting there with a pen. And my mind was just drifting into like, but like no real thoughts are happening. And there was something, it felt, if I give an age, it was like 5 or 6 years old. When you just space out the window because your Rebbe is talking about something and you're just looking, and there's maybe a bird flying and nothing in the world, even the bird doesn't matter. It's just like, that's just keeping your focus while you're drifting off into nowhere land. So there was a lot of that at the end, and it felt really yummy and a little disturbing. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was like, so that was really interesting. And I didn't know. Yeah, I still don't know what helped and what didn't. And yeah. But I did. Okay, let me ask you some more questions, because it's such an interesting conversation. Because it's
everything you said we can talk about for hours, I'm sure.
Yeah. like in your experience, people coming back from dietas, and this is very extreme, and I want to like break this down also to like what like people could maybe use plant medicine for in general, but people coming back from dietas, what is to be expected?
Right.
Like what does happen to people after coming back and having this experience?
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's funny in a way. Partially why I was asking you about what the point of your dieta was is because, you know, the way the word healing gets thrown around right now, where people just say, I'm healing, and you don't really know what they mean. Like, do they have capital T trauma? Are they having a bad day? Does this mean that they're going to yoga? Are they going to go to a therapeutic retreat for the next 3 years? Right? Like, the goals and definitions are all very ambiguous around it. But part of a dieta, you know, being that it can be a very intense sort of healing that sort of really can take a person back to their most vulnerable parts or the, you know, most intense times of their lives. And it's that combined with putting everything else on hold and potentially psychedelic medicines or drugs. And then you just kind of come back into society with all these restrictions. I think you can get very twitchy. Like there can be a time period where you are not necessarily integrating well. That's sort of, at least in part, why there are all these restrictions afterwards, because you kind of have to titrate yourself. You have to modulate.
So wait, let me just stop you because my son Yona, about 2 weeks in, he's saying something to me, and then he goes, "You're still in the jungle."
Right.
I was like, "Yeah, maybe a little bit." Yeah. Okay.
So
that's
it's not what you can expect when you come back. Is I mean, quite honestly, it can be quite difficult for people. I meet many people who have a hard time with the restrictions, feel very intense feelings, don't feel that they're ready to get back into their everyday lives. It can take a little bit. I even met someone who told me that she had done a dieta, and she said the post-dieta was harder. And I thought that was very revealing, right? Like, you would think going to the jungle, drinking these plants, not eating these foods, not having your phone. But she was like, nah, not having my phone, being alone in nature, easy.
I 100% agree with that.
Right. But coming back, a month.
Much harder,
right?
100% agree with that.
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating.
It was, people were like complaining about like there's no food taste. I was like, 3 times a day, someone's putting nourishment in front of me.
Right.
I have no phone. I have my thoughts. I have me. I was like, it was so much easier. The only thing that made me want to come back was like, I miss my wife and kids. Like I was like, I miss them. Like I want to see them.
Yeah.
But if they were like down the block in Tarapoto, I would have went back up to the jungle. Like it was, but the afterwards, it's definitely not as strict.
Right.
But I'm trying to like integrate. I also made all these promises that have not come true. Like I can't make them happen.
Right.
I went straight back into busy. I'm trying to, I still haven't gone back to the gym. Yesterday I was asking you about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Was that yesterday? I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know what day we're at.
Right.
But like I have to sign up to something and get something going. I said that I'm going to start running again. I have like all these things that, and they haven't really happened. Some of them have.
Some of them, that's good.
But
very often you have to fight to incorporate these into your life because your time is going to be consumed by people who really, really want it.
Right.
Right. And they're not conscious of the fact that the other 23 hours of your day are also being fought for.
Right. But I do feel like a real threat from the jungle.
Right.
That if I don't. Meaning like that idea about the tree.
Right.
It feels like a threat. That you will topple. There's no, you can't keep doing this. It's not happening. Like it's not, and it feels like a threat. Like I actually, first time I'm like, it's a good idea. It's not a good idea.
Have to.
So I feel, I definitely do. But let's say a dieta is successful. Like what outcome am I supposed to be looking for? What outcome are people supposed to be looking for from doing this experience.
So I guess this would largely depend on what plant you did, what plant you worked with, and for what duration, right? You know, the person I mentioned who did ajo sacha for tobacco dependency, she felt massive benefits in her lives, both things that she could have accounted for and things that she honestly couldn't have even realized might shift, right? The tobacco thing happened incidentally. She, as far as I know, it's been years. She hasn't hit a vape or smoked a cigarette, or tried some apacho since. But that turned out like that was just like the superficial thing, right? It was like all the shifts underneath that let her be the sort of person who no longer needed tobacco. And she talked about how in many ways her inner tension shattered. She was more liberated to do all the things that she was really wanted to do, got more in touch with her intuition. But it's really, really hard to speak to everything that you could get out of it because it's so all-encompassing, right? It's such a radical, drastic shift. And maybe it's just the unplugging for 10 to 30 days or however long.
Right.
But then
there's also ayahuasca, which I didn't really do.
Right. But there's also plants that have completely different effects, right? And it's kind of hard to say what you can get out of a dieta. The question usually is well, why are you there?
Do you have to have intention when you go to a dieta? Or actually, that's an interesting question because a lot of people said that about ayahuasca. I could say that the 3 times that I did ayahuasca in my life, I had no intention any of the times. Is that a thing that I got to come in with intention? It didn't feel like that in the jungle. Like the jungle was like, doesn't matter what you're thinking. We're going to give you something that's going to blast you to another planet, and that's it. Didn't sound like they were like, oh, let's talk about your intentions.
Right. Like there's no sharing circle afterwards, right?
No sharing circle.
Yeah.
That felt a little crazy. It was.
Yeah, they're just like, we trust the plants. Intention is a tricky thing, especially in the context of psychedelic work. It's kind of like a double-edged sword because an intention can very easily become resistance, right? Like if you show up and say, I am going to do this psychedelic experience because I have to work on my anxiety. And then you ingest whatever substance it is and it starts taking you in the direction of feeling boundless love. You might say, whoa, it's not okay. I have an intention, right? And just like that, you've developed resistance and you turned an otherwise what might have been a very transformative, positive experience into a grueling one. You know, and on the flip side, being intentional about things is obviously a good way to navigate life, right? In Judaism, mitzvahs tzrichas kavana. Without the intention, your mitzvahs may not be,
That's
adequately.
an conversation,
right?
In itself.
Yeah. So when I think about intention, I think it's good to have an intention. It's fine if your intention is just openness and surrender. Like, I'm going to go see what happens. It's great. But my understanding is that sometimes, the plant might ask of you, hey, why are you here? And in those moments, if you could scramble together an intention and have something up your sleeve that you were prepared for, that's awesome. Because then sometimes you do get that liberty to choose. So I think it's okay to have an intention as long as you're prepared to let go of it at the drop of a hat. And it's equally okay for the intention to just be openness, surrender, wonder, curiosity.
Okay, so let's talk about the other pet peeve of mine with specifically ayahuasca. No, it's not specifically ayahuasca. It's almost all of them. Where what are we supposed to, because people, I don't know if I want to discuss if ayahuasca or plant medicine or any of that stuff works.
Right.
Because there are people that saying it works, people are saying it doesn't work. Right. And what I mean by work is it's making a shift in their life to the positive. Right. I'm going to make it as vague as possible because that is what it is. Every single person has kind of a different experience. What I have experienced, so there's a lot of times when I've challenged the idea of psychedelics, it's like whether there's efficacy, does it even work? So let's take that off the table just for this conversation, just for this question. It works. People are going and then they're going back and back and back and back. And what exactly are we supposed to tell people about how to play with this? Like I was talking about the shamans before,
Right.
but like us. So let's say someone wants to go for healing. A lot of people are going for healing. They're going to someone. Part of the problem with the shamans being flaky is that anybody will take anybody anytime.
Right.
So you could go, I'm pretty sure, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but at any night in Muncie area, there's somebody serving something. Yeah. So you could go, and do not contact me and ask me where to go. I don't know. And even if I did know, I'm not telling you. So I'm just giving you that heads up. This was I'm talking from my own experience. But you could do it anytime. So you can't really stop. The shamans can't really stop them. Right. Even the most like lishma guys, they could just say, don't come back to me for a while. As a person who's taking psychedelics for healing and is trying with intention to get better and wants to do the work, when is enough for that person? Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not putting this on the shaman anymore because I don't think the shaman could stop them. Right. I've seen people try and then they just go to the next guy. Yeah. So what is it? Like, do I go once a month until it makes a difference? Do I go once a week until I burn it out? Right. Do I go? Because there's a lot of different options here. And I'm seeing some people. I told you about my app, right?
Yeah.
I told you the app idea?
I'm pretty sure.
I'll say it for the audience.
Sorry for ruining the fun.
No, I don't know. I've told you a lot of things. I also didn't show you my doll yet. Right. But the app is that the 10 people closest to you, like if you think you're getting better, so your app goes to the 10 closest people and they decide if you're really getting better. So they get a questionnaire. Anyway, that's the app. I think it's hilarious. Is there a rule of thumb that we could work with here from a genuine place? I'm not talking about someone who's a drug addict and he just wants to get another high wherever he goes, but someone who's genuine, wants to take care of himself. Where is there a rule of thumb, or it's just chaos?
So this is.
I got another 30 minutes. Go.
Oh, good. We're good on time. This is of course, there's no simple questions here, right? But this is. I think first off, this does kind of depend on your intention. Have you ever heard of Santo Daime?
No.
Okay. They're a Brazilian church, and they merge ayahuasca with Christianity. And in Daime, I don't know how often they meet up. I assume it's not every Sunday morning, but multiple times a month, they'll get together and drink ayahuasca and sing songs about Christianity. In that context, it wouldn't make sense to say, oh, well, I've had enough, right?
Oh, why are they using ayahuasca?
Bingo.
Okay.
So in some places, for instance, they'll use ayahuasca as a communal thing, which I know you love community and you think that's one of the main healing parts of ayahuasca.
Yes.
But that's also very dangerous because if the buy-in for the community is that we do ayahuasca, the concept of readiness for the next ceremony ceases to exist. We're all going to a ceremony. Well, now, if you're in the community,
you got to go.
Right. So the why matters quite a lot with this thing. That's one of the dangers of psychedelic communities, of course. But I
listen. I'm not one to like knock on other people's religion.
Right.
But that sounds freaking insane to me. I'm sorry. I'm putting that with Scientology. Go on. I know what I'm saying. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. Okay.
Well, there are multiple churches that do that.
I can't really throw stones. Right. I'm part of the Orthodox Jewish community. There's plenty of stones that people can throw back.
We were just talking about kapparas. As an outsider, that looks strange.
Yeah, we do kapparas. Okay, do ayahuasca every week. All right, okay, gotcha.
But I really like the Alan Watts quote.
Okay.
About when to stop doing psychedelics, where he said, when you get the message, you hang up the phone.
Okay.
I thought that was kind of nice.
Super vague. No, I'm saying, like, how do you know when you got the message?
Well,
I know. And then I hung up.
Are you? That's you know. I think that inner work has two components.
But
there's learning to listen, right?
Yeah.
Like your body is telling you something. Stage one, you're too disassociated to even be able to hear that, to know that your body's telling you, right? So step 1 is learning to listen. And step 2 is listening, right? Like, oh, I got the message and I'm going to follow through.
Learning to listen and listening?
Yeah.
I thought you'd be, what's the difference?
Well, one is learning how to listen, right?
Okay.
Like, say my
I feel like there's 3 then. It's
okay.
learning how to listen, listening, and then acting.
That's what I mean by listening.
Okay,
is
because
following the.
Got you.
Right. So one is, I'm partying so hard with ayahuasca or MDMA or whatever that I'm just wrapped up in having a good time, and I'm not even slowing down to meditate, sit with myself, take walks in nature, speak to a therapist, right? And at some point, maybe if someone does enough inner work, they'll be like, oh, my body's telling me, the message I'm getting from my gut, my intuition, is that I don't have to do this now.
Okay.
And then they actually might go right back at it, because even though they learned how to listen, I don't want to listen. Like,
right.
It's too much of a good time. I think that if people really truly develop this to a sufficient degree, they'll know whether or not they should be going back. I also think that it's not necessarily easy, but if someone's unsure about whether or not they're doing it too much, I think it's perfectly fine to take a month, 6 months, a year off. And if there's resistance to that idea, then I would question that.
Here's the interesting thing, because we have in Judaism, like, you don't go Rebbe shopping, you know?
Right.
Should there be a concept where we go to one therapist, maybe 2,
right,
if we want like another.
Yeah.
Should there be a concept of like, we do it with one person for a year or 2 years or 3 or 5 years? That's my Rebbe.
Good question, right.
Who's like guiding me and where if I'm going too far, not going too far. Should that be an idea? Like, because the idea is that the amount of people I know that are going just like a ceremony's happening. Oh, who's serving?
Who cares?
Well, which is interesting because that's probably how they do it in Peru too. Like, although every Peruvian that I ever spoke to
Doesn't drink
outside,
ayahuasca.
they're like, "You drinking ayahuasca?
Yeah.
That's funny."
Right.
Like, it's for the initiated. Like, it's not really for the people.
Right.
Like, it's different there. But I'm saying, I just feel it's interesting. Like, why are we not connecting this to? Now, I get that you could meet a shaman that you don't like and you want to move on, and you know, but the shaman hopping, I don't know how to regulate this.
Sure. Right.
But I'm saying, as advice for somebody, would it be good advice for somebody for themselves? Forget about regulating. I'm going in. Should I find myself a healer or a holder or a server or whatever we want to call it that I stick with for a period of time? Would that be good advice, or are we missing out on something if we do that?
First off, I want to acknowledge I don't necessarily have all the correct answers to any of this. I want to reiterate that, right? We're having the conversation.
No, I appreciate that you saying that.
Yeah, but like, I have thoughts and opinions, but they're not always correct.
I feel like our relationship is awesome because there are certain things that I'm the Rebbe and certain things you're the Rebbe.
Sure.
So I like that relationship.
Yeah. You know, one of the tricky things that happen about the way that America views shamans is like a mystical, evolved, enlightened spiritual healer. Sometimes that's true and sometimes that's not, right? You definitely don't want to fall down the rabbit hole of surrendering to the person unconditionally. Right? Like, sometimes shamans have crossed boundaries. You stick with this person because you're staying in one lineage.
It's ripe for cults.
That's right.
That's what I call that religion that you just said.
Yeah.
Who's the leader? I want to meet the leader because that's for sure a cult leader. Sorry,
No
I'm not
idea.
messing with it.
Right.
It just seems shady as hell.
It's international, by the way. It's not just that they have branches in the U.S. It's all over the place.
I'm more impressed with an international cult. I'm just saying.
Obviously. But I will say that in the Peruvian tradition, where ayahuasqueros are thought of as being kind of like doctors, if you trust someone enough to trust yourself and to be at your most vulnerable with them and to be in the ayahuasca ceremony, I think you probably also hopefully trust that person enough to get their input and to follow their guidance. And if you don't, maybe this is not a person you should be working with. I think it's rare to find people like that. And I think at least for the duration of the treatment, I would say follow one doctor's advice, right? So if you're working through a particular thing, I think it makes sense to pace yourself and work with one person because you trust them and have a relationship with them. I also don't think it's a sin to go and work with other people.
Right, gotcha.
But if you are working with multiple people, I think it's probably most helpful if you're upfront about that, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever had a therapy client who sat with you and then was like, oh, well, also I work with this other therapist and I'm doing something totally different with him.
Yeah.
And that can kind of throw things off because there's a trajectory.
I just fired my get out. I said, get out.
Leave at once, right?
Get out. No.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said for following one person's route if you trust them enough to work with them.
But I do see your issue. I totally forgot about the fact that the people serving have especially because they wear those robes.
The robes are cool.
Easy to start a cult.
Have you ever felt one of those ponchos? They feel real good once you put them on.
I tried to get it. Everything was closed. They had a voting day. I really wanted to get I got to get a good poncho. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm able to fully. Yuta Jacobus told me I got to start wearing linen pants. He says it's too hot. Oh, you wearing linen pants? Linen. So I bought 2 pairs of linen pants. I'm just not that comfortable walking outside yet with them because I like my jeans very much.
I don't know if I've ever seen you in anything outside of jeans besides for a suit and a bathing suit.
That's true. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
That's it.
And I know you for decades.
And I only have one suit, and I only wear it at weddings and funerals. Yeah. And I don't. That's all it's used for. And yeah, you have never seen it. Well, now I have linen pants.
Nice.
So that's like my step into being a little funkier.
All right.
I don't know.
We'll have you the J to blame.
First of all, let me show you this doll for a second.
We talked about that.
Okay, so this doll, if you're a long-time listener, you know, but this is my codependency doll, which I came up with and then somebody made, which is if you take this doll and you throw it against the wall, it has a thing. So you can press it if you want. Put it up to the mic.
I'm sorry. I love you.
This is terrible. A lot of codependency is getting a bad rap, and codependency is my illness, so I feel like I can still make jokes about it.
It's okay as long as you're in it with someone else.
That's right. I've gotten some kickback on just the codependency idea at all. Like betrayal trauma is making its debut and coming in strong.
That's a whole separate can of worms.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go there, but anyway, that's my codependency doll. Had a long conversation about this. There's Shmuel Skates. I'm gonna have many focus. You know Shmuel? Yeah. So I got to get him. Maybe he'll come next week. But he's doing his thesis on betrayal trauma. So
really?
I have some really interesting questions on that because my whole training has been codependency. Right. You really can't stick around with an addict very long unless you're a little codependent. So, but then I get into trouble because people are like, what?
Right.
There's an addict and I'm perfectly normal.
Sure.
And why are you saying this? And then people get very angry about that.
Well, I also think people don't necessarily understand what you mean when you say codependence.
Right. Well, I mean codependency is that it's the person, you're addicted to a person.
Right.
That's what I mean.
Uh-huh.
The same way someone's addicted to a drug.
Right.
You're using an outside source to regulate our own emotions, which is addiction.
Yeah.
But you use people and relationships. Specifically, usually healing the other person is what gives you the strength to move forward. So they are healers. Codependents are healers flipped upside down, where it's done.
Well, they just sound like healers to me.
They just sound like healers. But it always comes out to the same thing with addiction. I said this so long ago. I remember even when I'm first starting, what's the difference between I don't have a problem with alcohol or drugs. I don't really have a problem with any of these things. It's whether you need it or want it is really the difference. The problem that I fight is addiction, which is that I've gotten to a place where I have no inner core and I need to use something to make myself feel better. And that's the part. And the problem is not the addiction even. The problem is that you don't have an inner core. So we're working on that. So that's you're related to Twersky, right?
Yeah.
Abram J. Uncle? I don't remember.
My great uncle.
Great uncle, right? So I was at a speech of his. And I think everybody's heard this, but he said I wrote 50 books. At that point it was 50.
Right.
I think it was 100. Yeah. And I only wrote about one thing.
Right.
Self-esteem. Yeah. That's it. I read it 50 different ways.
Yeah, the way I heard it was he wrote one book in 50 different ways.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something, yeah.
Okay. There's so many other... This is what I think. I am going to have you back.
Oh my
and the
God.
reason is, sorry, I know
is
you...
this a punishment?
It's a calling.
If
it was easy,
then
you're not the right person.
All right.
Right?
See? I just proved something to myself and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, something's proven. Because you wear so many hats. We didn't even talk about you at all. We just went right into conversations, which is what we usually do. We didn't talk about how I was an amazing mentor to you as you became a social worker. Yeah. We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about any, but there's a lot of other topics that I want to talk to you about, but I didn't look at the time, but I think we are,
It's been a while. Right?
Yeah, so now I got to ask you the any things you want to talk about, but I have to ask you the rooftop question, but am I missing something?
I really like being low profile. I think you've been telling me that we should podcast for at least a year.
At least.
Yeah, I'm happy to focus on other things. I like being under the radar.
Okay.
Yeah, this is quite a bit for me. I don't know if I'll do one again so soon.
Okay, fine. So you're saying I have to get it all in now?
Or like we'll spend another year talking about it and seeing what the landscape looks like then.
I think the people don't know that you're a serious therapist and that you're a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy and you're a chassidic master, the son of many other chassidic masters, and that you have lots of thoughts on a lot of things.
Yeah. Also a scuba diver.
Are you a scuba diver?
Yeah. No, I was kidding, but actually, yes.
When did you become a scuba diver?
Like 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. In Thailand, I have like a advanced. Now it just feels like I'm bragging. Whatever.
All right.
It's not that important.
But you didn't really become an archer.
No.
Why not?
Because remember when we went to the store and all bought the composite bows?
Yeah.
I was like 18. I still lived with my parents. So you had a yard.
Right.
Isaac had a yard. I was like in my mom's, in the basement apartment next door to my mom's house. Not a lot of room for a compound bow there. I was like, where am I going to shoot it?
That's the reason?
Yeah.
I was like, why didn't you become an archer with us?
Because
we became archers.
Yeah, that was great.
It was so fun. Okay.
I mean, I would come here and shoot your bows respectively, but...
Right. Well, my bow is broken. I got to fix it.
Have you been using it?
No, because it broke, and I haven't taken it in. And even in the jungle, I'm like, I'm going to fix my bow. I did come back. The first thing I did for self-care, I bought a machete.
Nice.
Because they have machetes out in the jungle, and I was... But I
Did
will
see
tell
someone open a coconut holding it with machete?
Yeah, they're just macheting it.
While holding it.
But I'm going to tell you that my machete is very weak. It's... I mean, I'm gonna do it on the. I got a belt sander, so I'm gonna get it nice and sharp. But it's also not heavy. Like they have heavy ones.
Yeah, thick steel.
Dude, there's one point we're taking a walk to the waterfall. I love there's only like one hike over there. You take one walk to the waterfall, and this kid is there with us. It's like a 12-year-old kid, and he's like there. He's the only kid on this whole operation. He's one of the kids of the workers there, and we're like huffing and puffing again, and he's in flip-flops. And the kid's just carrying this massive machete, which is at least half the size of him. And he's just whacking things. And this. Meanwhile, I'm like, whoa, careful. You're going to fall down the cliff. Anyway, he didn't do that. But yeah, all the different hobbies and all the cool stuff. Okay, the truth is, I really liked this conversation a lot about this. I wanted to process this with a little bit with the experience, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on it. And it was all about me, and I feel very selfish. But you know what? I'm spreading my canopy,
you're sucking
my roots,
in the support from your
and my
ecosystem.
canopy.
Yeah.
And I feel very revitalized to start up the podcast again and like get some really cool stuff. Here's another crazy thought I had. and this I don't know how I'm going to do. And I know it's not a good idea for my podcast. But while I was there, I was like, I think I only want the podcast with very old people who have experienced life and can give me their wisdom.
Awesome. I'll be back on the podcast in 60 years.
In 60 years. Yeah. Yes, you come back in 60 years. And then I actually started reaching out to some older people, and they're really hard to get them to do things for you. They really don't care. They're like, it's fine. I have wisdom, but I also rather not come.
Right. They're wise enough to know.
So I'm going to try to get people that are older than me. Mm-hmm. And the first person I'm getting is younger than me. But it's not what's going to happen. But that was like, I don't think I have enough wisdom. And I think that came from the idea of like the tradition is very strong in Peru.
Right.
Like the respect for the elders and this wisdom was very strong. So that I definitely think that came from that. Anyway, rooftop question. Ready?
This is like what I would yell.
Yeah, what are you going to yell? Yeah, if you ever make it to the end of my podcast. The best thing about this is totally anonymous. Nobody makes it to this point anyway. So this is just for me. No, I'm kidding.
I can like say whatever I want.
No, we have a joke. I have a joke because every time I say that, then my true fans always say
they let you know that
they let me know. So you can pick a color, and if they know the color, that's how they know it.
I'm kind of colorblind. I just
okay. So comment colorblind if you saw it to this point. That's it.
I'm gonna be bullied.
Just do
about
colorblind. say Mike is colorblind. What is wrong with that guy? Don't say all that.
It's okay. I'll be fine if you say it.
It's just say colorblind. I never did that color.
Well, if people are listening to this,
yes,
I would say that it's okay for them to, whatever they're doing, just take a moment and take a breath. It might be kind of nice.
I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah, me too.
That was wonderful.
That's right. Thank you so much.
It's so simple. I love you, man.
I love you too.
Okay,
this was great.
Thank you for this day that I've been given. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this chance. Thank you for this chance to live